Hey, welcome to Impress the Boss, where we teach you how to stand out without working overtime. I'm Kathryn.
I'm Laurel.
And I'm Valerie.
And this is our director's cut. So we're only taking one shot of this. So whatever you're looking at is actually like the only time we're filming this segment. It is longer. It'll be longer. So if you're doing other things, this is a good episode to download, listen to while you're, cleaning your car, vacuuming, or whatever else you're doing in your life. So we wanted to share a little bit of who we are as individuals, how Impress the Boss came about, our idea and our philosophy about leadership, and really what we're hoping that you as our listener and you as our part of our crew really get to benefit from this initiative. So we're really excited to have you here. Hey, ladies.
We're doing this unscripted because we just want to
So we'll probably have lots of bloopers.
For sure. So we thought we'd start with a little bit of our individual backgrounds to share with our listeners. And Laurel, I'm going to start and have you kick off. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what's your background? What are you about? Why are you here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that we'll talk in a couple minutes about us and how we met and how we got to know one another. But I've been in basically corporate America roles, and job-wise, I've been working since I was 12. I started by working at Dean Witter, for those of you that are part of the financial world, when I was 12 years old, of filing stock reports. And
at 12.
At 12.
I think that's illegal.
Isn't that kind of like child slavery?
I think so. But I've just always been someone who, well, my uncle would say I have a Puritan work ethic. Like, I enjoy work and I love work, and love being able to contribute to our economy, as well as, helping people to, find their potential and to live into their potential within their work life, if you will. So I've definitely spent a fair number of years in the corporate world, as well as in nonprofit. Corey, my husband, and I, of 18 years, lived in Sri Lanka for a little while, working with a nonprofit. And I know each of you have some stories that you'll share about similar types of experiences. But
I actually didn't know that about you. That you lived in.
Yeah.
When did you live in Sri Lanka?
Oh, that's so funny. 2008.
Wow,
yeah, we were sent there
cool.
on a short-term assignment for the organization that I worked for.
Wow, that's really
that's great.
Yeah, which actually, I don't, anybody who follows anything about Sri Lanka, 2008 was at the tail end of a civil war.
Whoa.
Wow.
So when Corey and I landed at the airport in Colombo, flying in, there were literally lining the runway were berms with men with machine guns pointed at our airplane as we are coming down the runway. And Corey has some anxiety struggles, and so just looking at his face.
I wonder why.
Wow.
Yeah, looking at his face as we're, taxiing down the runway, and we have machine guns literally pointed at our airplane. I was like, oh, wow, this is going to be interesting. So anyway, so yeah, I guess I won't bore people with the whole, job history. You can go stalk us on LinkedIn to figure out all of our specific job history. But I think for me, that's just really, what it's come down to is being able to do work that I love and enjoy, and working with people that I want to be around, and living into my own potential for one, and then helping others to do the same. So, so that's the work side. And then I mentioned Corey. So we've been married for just about 18 years, and I don't feel old enough to actually say that. It's so weird to me. Oh, thank you. But and we have fur babies, and we have 8 nieces and nephews who we just absolutely adore and dote on and enjoy going to spend time with. So from my 3 siblings and Corey's twin brother. And
he's a twin. Oh, that's right. I did know that.
Yeah.
Yes. Is he the first or the second?
He was the first.
Do you know know by how
first.
long or how many minutes?
I don't remember. I don't. Maybe 7 or 9 minutes. I think he might.
Wow,
have
that
said
is
to me
kind
at
of
some
long.
point. So, anyway, yeah, and we live in California on the Central Coast. For anybody who's aware of Hearst Castle, we live about 10 minutes from Hearst Castle, William Randolph Hearst's expansive, amazing estate that is just. Yeah, crazy
Our next
beautiful.
retreat will be at Hearst.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah.
We wish.
Yeah. And, but we have our family is kind of all over the Western U.S. So we get to travel a lot to see family. And so
And travel back here to Denver.
That's right.
That's right.
yeah, to hang out with you.
To hang out with us. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Great. Thank you, Laurel. Appreciate the background. So Valerie, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're passionate about and why you're here as well?
Yes, sure. I am come from a background of really just have a passion for helping people develop their gifts and talents, and specifically in leadership, and helping them be able to find out what they're good at. And that can come about in many different ways. And I have a background in where I graduated with a English literature degree for my undergrad, and love English, love to read, love books. And I went to Arizona State University for that. And during that time, I also was very active in campus ministry because at that time, there was just a lot going on at ASU, and my faith is really important to me. So I was able to just get integrated into a really good campus ministry, which out of that allowed me to be able to take a few trips overseas to, for an example, Morocco and Israel. Actually, back in, I think it was 91.
Wow.
You know,
Oh my
and
gosh,
that was
that's so
just
cool.
a great trip, and actually that was actually the first trip with the campus ministry at the time, and so it was just great. And I love culture. I think that comes from being indulged into a land of a jungle called Tembagapura in Indonesia. My family and I lived in Tembagapura for about a year.
Oh, wow.
And my father worked for a company called Freeport Indonesia, where he was in charge of taking oil shale out of the mountain. And with that, because Tembagapura was kind of a desolate area, the first 6 months, my mother and my older brother, we had the opportunity of living in Australia, where my brother and I went to school for that 6 months while our house was being built in Tembagapura.
Oh, wow.
So that was just a great time. And I think by being indulged in that culture, it just put just that desire of travel and traveling. And I also served as a teacher, teaching English to medical students in Cambodia. So I did that back in the mid-90s, and that was great. But
That was for quite a bit of time you were in Cambodia, correct?
about a little bit over a year.
Okay.
So, yes, it would have been longer, but there is a story behind that with going back to like Civil Wars with Laurel. But I also come from a background of working for a Fortune 500 technology company. Did that for a while as an account manager for higher education campuses. That was a lot of fun because, one, it let me see the potential of just how technology influences a college campus, but it also let me see just all the red tape and everything of being able to get funded for universities and being able to win big deals, and learned a lot about just technology for a while. And but at the end of the day, my heart and passion is for leadership. My heart and passion is to help people become the best leaders that they can. And I think that just goes with Impress the Boss, because we're here to help leaders like yourselves, or even if you're not a leader, and any person who feels that they are in a workplace, that they can really stand out when they understand their giftings and talents. So.
I think one of the things I've noticed about you the most, Valerie, over the course of knowing you, is that you really have a heart for individuals. So I think a lot of people have a heart for the broader message, which, not to say you don't, but you really care about people, and that's very evident in
Absolutely.
and
Yes.
you know, your giving and things of that. So
And I would say that's true. I would guess I have a lot of experience in mentorship in my graduate studies. I took a class on mentorship and just learned a lot and had an opportunity of just being mentored myself and being able to pass that on. But I guess you are right. I love to have a one-on-one relationship where I'm able to grow through other people and also to see other people grow. And I think that's part of leadership too.
Yeah, and definitely come out through our Impress the Boss
Yes.
message. So thank you both. So I'll give a little bit of history for me. How do you even explain how you get to one spot in life? I think it's so convoluted, very much so. So similarly, I have a little bit of a diverse background, currently in sales, and prior to that, did some consulting, and then prior to that, did more sales. And then prior to that, went through just this. My heart and my faith are also important to me, and had worked on staff at a church and actually hated it. So it was something that, not because of the faith aspect, but just it just didn't fit me very well. And so had to explore a different avenue of something that I always thought I was going to do. And then how do you figure out a new path when what you've really thought of your whole life doesn't work out? So really went through this kind of self-discovery to end up in sales. I mean, it's kind of weird, like to end up in sales. I love it. I'm great at it and I enjoy it, but it's not definitely what I thought I'd be doing the rest of my life. So it's been a little bit of a various path for me, but I think at the end of the day, what I like is solving problems. So it's not really about sales. It's about customers have this specific challenge, or people have this specific challenge, and then how do we solve that problem, or how do we overcome it, and how do we find success in that path? So I think that's really my where I like to land and like to be. And that really relates to what I like to do personally. Like I'm a rock climber, I'm a cyclist, I'm a hiker, a backpacker, live in Denver. Valerie lives in Denver as well. And really the outdoor sports it's this analytical process of how do you problem solve, especially climbing, like how do you problem solve, and you're physically engaged, and it really provides much needed distraction, but also engages your mind as well. So I think with Impress the Boss, coming here and thinking about our followers or our crew actually, what they're encountering, I think it's this combination of, problem solving and really trying to analyze situations and figure a way out of them. So that's what I'm excited to be talking about here as well. I'm a kind of a California Midwest girl growing up. So I've been drawn back to Denver over the last decade, or live in Denver the last decade, just to be able to experience the West, but still hold some of those Midwest values. And I think each one of us, it's interesting, the values that we hold are really important to us, especially as we go into sharing our stories with everyone as well. So it's a little bit of a background about us. As Laurel mentioned, check out our LinkedIn profiles. You can see our education and professional history there as well. Moving on, how we all met. So this is kind of an interesting story because, Valerie and I had known each other from our master's degree program, and we came up with this grand idea of how to take over the world. We came up with this grand idea on how to go back to school for our PhDs, and we just thought it'd be really fun to
That's right.
to do it together. So we applied, we got accepted. We went into the bathroom during our program, and there we met Laurel. Washing our hands at the sink.
I think you were 2 years younger than us in the program. I can't remember.
I think 2 years behind you in the
I
program.
always thought it was
think
one,
you,
but I think
you
it
were
was
in
two.
your third year residency.
You're coming in as
And I was in my first year residency. So
It's funny because I remember Laurel. I do not remember the bathroom incident.
Oh, that's where I remember,
but I remember Laurel from our opportunity to present at Oxford University.
Yes, yeah.
So I remember flying with Laurel and just doing a lot with you. But that's where I think where our friendship began, and where I began
Very
to get to know
much so.
you was at Oxford. Yes.
Yeah, we had such a fantastic time of being able to speak at Oxford. I mean, what an absolute privilege to be invited to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, to be in one of I don't even remember the name of the chapel, but the chapel that's been there since
Yeah.
Exterior or
Exeter. That's
Exeter,
right.
that's
Exeter
what it is.
College's
Yeah,
chapel
yeah.
that has
It's
just
beautiful, yes.
been there forever and is so amazingly beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you haven't picked up, we all met each other during our PhD program. So it's actually Dr. Emory, Dr. Adamson, and Dr. Arguello officially. Official titles.
And it would be kind of, I'm sure throughout the course of these podcasts or with our website, I'm sure a little bit of our dissertation research might pop in and in and out there because that was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, I think, But yeah,
I'm pretty sure we were crazy, quite honestly.
We were. But we finished.
We did.
It's all about endurance. All about endurance.
Perseverance for sure.
Yeah.
But out of that experience really came this idea for Impress the Boss. And Impress the Boss was actually originated in my brain. I have all these ideas. I've never executed on them except this one 7 years later. But this idea about how, there's all this information around leadership, but not so much around being a quote follower. I mean, I think 10%, less than 10% of the population or the workforce will ever be CEOs. So there's about 160 million.
Wait, you want to say that again? Because that's a pretty strong quote.
Okay, so 160 million as of 2018, 160 million in the American workforce, 200,000 roughly CEOs. So there's a wide gap. And a lot of those CEOs are very small companies.
Yeah.
So the percentage of CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are even smaller.
Yeah.
So when we think about leadership, we often think about, well, I'm not a CEO. I'm not the lead person in charge.
Right.
I'm a worker bee. I'm, doing my job, or maybe I manage a team of 10 or a few people. But yeah, it's this disparate statistic that really, we started talking about around this idea of, well, then how do you be a leader, or how do you succeed if you're just a normal person, like
And
all
that's
of us
maybe
are.
all that you want to be. Like you
Yeah,
don't have
that's
any
exactly. Maybe you
aspirations
don't
to
even
be
have an
anything more
aspiration.
than that. Yeah.
Have
True.
an
I mean, I'd
aspiration
like
of
the
being a
CEO's
leader.
paycheck, but maybe not the responsibility.
I agree.
Yeah.
So it's like sitting in your cubicle. I can relate with working for the Fortune 500 company. You're just one of the many workers, but at the same time being able to, I know that just because I was one of many account managers, I still had this innate, within me, because I wanted to stand out. I wanted to make a good impression with my work and work ethic, and especially coming from sales, working for sales, I also wanted to make sure that I stood for integrity and stood with humility and but at the same time, knowing that my boss or my manager, that was basically the person who was the leader, and what could I do to help him succeed and to help him become the best manager? And part of that was me doing my job well, because what I did helped him.
That's right.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so really the idea of us all coming together for Impress the Boss is around how we want you, whoever's listening out there in the universe, really to impress and grow and become better at your jobs. I mean, our jobs take up such a large percentage of our works, our day, I should say.
Our lives.
I mean,
Right.
it's a huge percentage of our lives. And interesting, the Gallup poll that just came out maybe earlier this year, but 70% of people are disengaged or dissatisfied at work.
Right.
and why?
Exactly.
It's just like, why are people 70%? I think is a huge stat. It's a big number.
Yeah.
And to have that many people unsatisfied at work,
So how do we go about individually improving our own lives, improving the lives of those people around us, but in very tactical ways? I think sometimes leadership or this idea is so ambiguous, it's so philosophical,
Right.
and we're very academic about it in many respects, but there is a point where you've just got to get super tactical. And what can you do to, like, literally just today, one thing, what can you do and execute on that just moves you a little baby step forward?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
So good.
And I think that's it for our director's cut.
I think so.
I think so. I think we covered the 4 things we wanted to talk about. So anyway, we're really excited to have you with us and join us on this journey. Laurel, Valerie, and I are just really passionate about what we're talking about around how to impress your boss and how to stand out. We're looking forward to hearing your stories. We're looking forward to having fun together.
Right.
And looking forward to executing on this one idea that we had, and I convinced them.
Yep. Bringing a fantastic idea to life.
That's right.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's learning how to allow each of us, even our listeners, but even ourselves here, because we're still in the work environment,
Absolutely.
of how we can all stand out and really influence and
live in our
make-
gifts
yes,
too.
live in our gifts and
Yeah.
talents, and to continue to grow. I think this is a growing experience too.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
So if you're not familiar with the different ways you can engage with us, thanks for listening to our Director's Cut. You can follow our Impress the Boss show. You can also go to impresstheboss.com and subscribe to become one of our crew. There's a really cool download on there. Laurel, tell us about the download.
We are super excited to share the download with you. We will have many different downloads over the coming months, but our first one is going to help you to get a raise.
And that means money, money, money.
And we do have someone who followed the steps that Laurel created who just earned like a 20%
20% raise.
20% raise.
Fantastic.
So we have someone who has gotten a raise from
In
these
the
steps.
last
Following
week.
these steps.
Last week.
Yes.
Last week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then lastly, follow us on social, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, where we have daily standout tips to help you stand out and impress your boss. So thank you, everyone.
And remember that our it's impresstheboss.com.
That's
Yes,
impresstheboss.com. That's where you can find us.
And hashtag impress the boss to share your story.
yes.
Awesome. Okay. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The Bobs are out. Okay. Done.